What's up, guys? Ash, aka the Flaming Geek here, and here is my spoiler review. Spoiler review for Captain America: Civil War. Um, so I saw this movie 2 weeks ago for press, and then I saw it again this morning in IMAX, and I really enjoyed this movie. I really like that each character. I just loved I loved most of this, quite a bit about this movie. The Russo brothers knocked it out of the park again. They made Captain America cool. Where I'm very vocal about how much I don't like Captain America. I think he's very boring. He's like Superman to me. Boy Scout. Ugh. But you know what? Chris Evans does a good job with this character, and the movie does him justice. So what I like about this movie, of course, is it links everything from Avengers Age of Ultron into it. So as a result of what happened in Sokovia and the destruction of this this city, superheroes must be held responsible for it. So there's the creation of the Sokovia Accords. And this is what creates the divide. This is what creates Civil War. Is there's Tony Stark's side, who's in favor of the Accord, and there's those against it, which are with Captain America. What I really enjoy about this film is it's got very important things to me. When I go and see a movie, I'm looking at character development, pacing, and if it's supposed to be an action film, I'm looking at the action. And you know what? This movie hits it on each one of those. The pacing of this film was well done. I just found a little bit towards the end of it, it was a little drawn out, and I remember feeling a little bit of the time on me, and I'm like, okay, when is this fight gonna happen? But it was still good. The fight scenes were amazing, although nothing will beat that Winter Soldier and Captain fight, hand-to-hand knife fight that they had in Winter Soldier. But still, the fight scenes in this, so good, so well done. I really liked how this film incorporated each character very well, because one of the big concerns about when a studio is going to be handling, even when directors are told, like, you have to, like, this is going to be leading into the Infinity Wars, each character must have their moment to shine. Some movies are very good at showing that, some aren't. This movie does justice to each of its characters. We got to see more of Vision, which was nice, and that relationship between Vision and Scarlet Witch, which I loved because, you know what, I'm a huge shipper of those two, and when I was younger reading the comic books, Vision is my favorite Avenger, and I just love Paul Bettany as him, and it was just really well done. And you get to see Black Panther. Chadwick Boseman was freaking awesome. I loved it. I loved how he had the accent and it didn't really falter. I liked his intensity that he brought to this character, and sort of how Black Panther was a wild card in this. He was agreeing with the Sokovia Accords, technically didn't sign it as Black Panther, but he was out for revenge, and I like how they sort of developed that character, and I am so excited to see his first standalone movie, because you know what? As a person of color, it's always great to see different superheroes come to screen, especially someone who can kind of represent that minority demographic, which is great. So I'm so stoked for that. I love the fights. There were so many scenes with Black Widow where I was literally like, fuck yeah, in the theater, in my head. Black Widow and Kate Carter. I really loved that little fight scene with them taking down Bucky. I really liked that. And I don't know, there's just so much positive in this movie. I think probably the best scene, for me, some of them, my top ones were Spider-Man. Spider-Man is the first Marvel comic book hero that I ever read. He's my favorite. I love this character so much. I even love watching the old 1986 cartoon reruns on Teletoon Network every once in a while. And I love Tom Holland as this Peter Parker. It's different, and I like it. It was so cool. It's a cool twist that Aunt May is younger, and I think that's really neat. So I can't wait to see Spider-Man Homecoming, because you know what? This is the Spider-Man I've been wanting to see for a while. I love the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. The Andrew Garfield one was okay. I never actually finished the first Amazing Spider-Man, and I never watched the second one. But for a while, Tobey Maguire was my favorite. But I like that they have an actor who's closer in age, which is more realistic in high school, and Tom Holland just brought it. He brought the humor, and I like the dialogue and how Spider-Man was written. So when he was quipping in that fight, it was realistic, because that's what Spider-Man does. He's a quipper, he's a jokester, prankster, he's always ridiculing who he's going up against, and that's how he gets on their nerves, and that's one of the best parts about Spider-Man. So I loved that. I loved the huge clash that you see in the trailer, but you see in the film, the clash between both sides, pro Accords against the Accords. I loved that fight sequence, because each character got their moment to shine. Ant-Man, not only does he get small, he gets big, and I was loving it, and I loved that his movement was slowed down a lot more exaggerated, because realistically, yeah, if you look at physics, if a human being was that giant size, you would be moving a lot slower, because you have more gravity working against you, and you have more of an area around you. And it was so good, and I love how Tony's like, no, it wasn't Tony. Rhodey's like, does anyone on our side have any unknown, like, special abilities? Because that would be really advantageous. And it was so good. Each character had their moment, and that was what was great about this fight. I could watch that fight. That could have just been the whole movie for me, and I would have been happy with it. I also really like the motivations in this film. The motivations are really well done. Iron Man is not my favorite character. I love the first Iron Man movie, but I think Tony Stark's kind of overrated now. And but I really liked it. I didn't get frustrated with him at all. I was worried that he was going to steal the spotlight from a Captain America movie, which he didn't. Which is well done. Well done, Russo brothers. Well done. I really like the motivations, because it did bring up a discussion, which I was talking to my friend about afterwards when we saw the film. It was like, okay, like, would you sign the Sokovia agreements? And I was like, and we had an argument. I was like, no, I wouldn't sign them, because, yeah, then we know each country isn't totally innocent. And would you want to be going, like, would you want to be told, no, you can't go save those people, when you know it's someone with abilities, it's someone that you could potentially stop and save more lives than not? And just the idea of that, okay, you need to be put in check because of what happened in Sokovia and everything that's happening around us, the destruction, the death. People need to be held accountable, which I agree with, and the movie does a good job with that. One of my big concerns about this film is I love the Civil War comic book. It's one of the first ones I actually read with all the Avengers. I read it way back in, I think it was like 2005 or something, and I loved it. And that was one of my concerns. I'm one of those people who's like a diehard comic book, and like I want everything to be how it is in the book. The film adaptation must be similar to the book adaptation, and this one was different. But they still did a great job. They had references to it, which was great. Okay, I want to talk about some cons for this movie. The dying. So in the trailer and in this movie, we see Rhodey get shot down, and Iron Man is standing there, and he's like, oh shit, my friend. And in the movie, he gets paralyzed. And I remember when he fell down, and there's like, oh, read the vitals. Oh, he needs to get taken to the hospital right away. I was literally sitting there, and I was like, well, he's going to walk out of it. He's going to be fine. And they're like, oh, he's paralyzed. And I was like, Tony's going to invent something so he can literally just walk. Like, there's no stakes. And that's one thing, my biggest critique about the cinematic universe. Especially, like, Winter Soldier. Nobody died in Winter Soldier. Even though people did. But none of the main characters died. And that's one thing I don't really like so much what Marvel's doing, is there's no stakes there. They're heroes, they're important characters, they're going to come back. And I don't like that show. I would have been fine with Rhodey dying, because it would have been a little bit more realistic. Somebody is going to get injured. There is going to be a price to pay, which they kept saying, if you're going to go up against each other. But the price of death was not there, and it felt a little less believable then. the time. It's a long movie. Towards the end, I remember when they go to Siberia and everything, I was sitting there and I was like, oh my gosh, when are they going to fight? When are the three, when are the Winter Soldier, Captain America, and Iron Man going to fight? Because that was shown in the trailer. And I'm looking forward to it. It was a badass fight, but at the same time, towards the end of the movie, I was kind of a little drained and I was waiting for it to be over. The villain, Baron Zemo, played by the lovely and ever so talented Daniel Brühl. I'm a huge Daniel Brühl fan. I love his German films and his French films every once in a while. Amazingly talented actor, and I felt like he was a little bit of wasted. Baron Zemo is a supervillain in the Marvel universe, the comic book universe, and I think it's really neat that he has different types of energy. He can manipulate energy, light, and gravity manipulation. So it makes me wonder if we're going to see more of him later on, because it was left very open-ended. He's being held in maximum tight security. But at the same time, his motivations, it was kind of like Star Trek not Wrath of Khan, Into Darkness, where Khan, you kind of sympathize for Khan, and it was the same thing about Zemo. His family dies, everyone he knows dies, and so his thought is, okay, let's have these heroes destroy themselves. I don't know, Marvel isn't really hitting it out the park with a villain. Loki's literally the best villain that they have, the most fleshed out, the one who you feel most sympathetic for, the one you feel like is kind of an anti-hero. Baron Zemo was kind of just like a 2-bit villain who was there, and who knows, we might see him later on. He might get powers later on in the films, or he might just be in maximum security for the rest and nobody will care about it, which to me was kind of a waste of a good villain. But I understand that would have been difficult to have a really good fleshed out villain throughout the film, with all these characters too that are in it. So I can understand that. But if he comes back, I'm going to be happy. Brock Rumlow, the Crossbones, wasted. I love Crossbones. Crossbones is a badass, and he's literally in the movie for like 10 minutes, or maybe a little bit longer at the beginning of the film, and then he blows himself up. I was kind of like, oh, well, there's a waste of a potentially really good villain. So we didn't get enough to see him, and yeah, the villains, meh. But it is probably one of my top Marvel movies at the moment. Not as high as Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier was something else, and it's one of those biggest regrets in my life where I didn't see Winter Soldier in theaters. And if they bring it back into theaters, I will gladly go see it, because I can't believe I missed out on that. Curse you, university exams! Yeah. So, all in all, Captain America Civil War, good movie. Pretty great movie. I would rate it probably, like I said in my spoiler-free review, I rated 86%, so 8.6 out of 10. Well-executed film, very well done, and I can't wait to see how this leads into the Infinity Wars and such. It's got me hyped for Black Panther. It's got me hyped for more Vision, because we need more Vision, and I want to see how this goes. And so, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to put them down there. How did you feel about this movie? Have you seen the movie? What are you excited for? What did you like? What did you not like? And so just let me know. And as always, live long and prosper. Frosty!